Hello my bookish besties and welcome back in. Today we are going to be doing another realistic week of reading as a corporate America girly. It is Monday. I read some today. If you watched my most recent vlog, I have been in a reading slump, and I did technically start this book in that reading slump, and that is If It Makes You Happy. I read about 120 pages today. If you want to see my thoughts on the beginning of this book, like I mentioned, I did start it in my this video ends when I'm out of my reading slump video, but I am loving this so far. I will say though, it's making me extra sad because the dog Rocket reminds me so much of my dog Zoe. Like I literally tabbed a couple of scenes where like in this scene, like our main girl, Michelle, she's talking about how she should have known better and she never should have left him, and she's feeling this guilt for like, basically he gets scared on Halloween and she feels guilt for leaving him alone because an incident happens, and she feels really sad that like she left him alone, like she's taking responsibility for his fear. And then I also bookmarked this one. It said like you know, he's sad that he's not hanging out with his friend anymore. Like it's so sad. Oh, and then I also bookmarked this quote. It says, "But these feelings will all pass. Everything does, like the seasons do." I thought that was beautiful. But anywho, I have made it to November now. I am loving it. I don't think I'll read any more before bed because it is 11 when I'm filming this first clip, which daylight savings, it's really messing me up. I have stayed up past midnight for like 5 days in a row now, which is crazy because it's Monday. Daylight savings was yesterday, like the Sunday yesterday, which means I've just been staying up for funsies. But anywho, I did read 120 pages today. I do work from home tomorrow and Wednesday, so I'm hoping that I can hopefully read quite a bit of pages. I started The Wolf King. I'm about 15% into that. I'm liking it so far. It is already crazy, like literally from the get-go. And then I'm also in the middle of The Future Saints. Feeling meh about that one. It's not giving what I thought it was going to give. And then I'm also technically in the middle of the Mind F series. I need to start book 2. And then there was another book I was thinking about reading. Also, that's hilarious. You can literally see my tripod on my chair. We're gonna pretend that wasn't there the whole time. I was using it to record some TikToks. So be sure to follow my TikTok if you want, linked in the description, or the description. But anywho, there's another book. Oh, I'm kind of back in the mood to read Half City. I did start that, I think, in another vlog as well. So yeah, we're gonna freaking power away tomorrow, okay? So stay tuned and I will update you guys in the morning. An embarrassing thing just happened to me. I'm not kidding, I just yapped for like probably 6 whole minutes, and this is what my footage looks like. Anywho, let me recap what I already recapped. Basically all I said was Tuesday turned into what I would like to call doing anything but reading day. And what you're probably thinking is, was it your reading slump? Did it come back? No. You know what happened? I saw a singular TikTok edit from the pit, and then you know what I did the literal rest of the day? Watched nothing but pit TikToks because I cannot get these freaking people out of my brain. All I can think about is Dr. Langdon, Dr. Robbie, Dr. Abbott, Mel. That's pretty much it. Those are my big 4. But like, that's all I can freaking think about. And it is consuming my life. I have never, ever in my life, well, let me clarify. I haven't been this feral for a fandom in so long. I am obsessed. Like, I am foaming at the mouth waiting for Thursdays, and I can't remember the last time I felt like this. Probably with The Summer I Turned Pretty. Like, I was super excited for every Wednesday, but not the way I am like right now. Like, I'm making fan theories, I'm watching every interview, I'm doing the most. It is giving me the way early, like 2010-ish Marvel was making me feel, like when they would all do those silly goofy interviews and all that stuff. That's how I feel right now. But anywho, I did technically sit down to read earlier. I picked up a little bit of the Wolf King. I started this like maybe 2 nights ago, read the first 10%, and then I've now gotten up to about 21% today. I have, according to my Kindle, 3.5 hours remaining, which means if I pretty much lock in the rest of the night, I think I could finish. Our AC is fixed now though, and I only watched 1 episode of Criminal Minds, and like I said, I can't do anything but think about the pit. So, but I am teleworking again tomorrow, so worst comes to worst, we have a second Kindle friendly day ahead of us. I did also feed my sourdough starter, which I am back in my sourdough era. The last time I was serious about it was when our AC went out. I literally fed my starter, made a dough, did all the stuff, and then our AC went out. It's like 100 degrees outside, and I have my oven, you know, set to 450 or whatever, and my house got up to like a gazillion degrees because, you know, oven, heated air. And so I retired her for a little bit, but we're back. I somehow revived it. We are, it's 6 p.m. though, so we're gonna see how this specific loaf turns out, because technically I think the rules say you're supposed to feed it in the morning, and then once it peaks, that's when you make the dough, and then you basically send your dough through this process of like stretch and folds, rising, etc., doing all the dough stuff. I don't know the terms for it, but because I'm starting at night, we'll probably just wake up and make my dough first thing in the morning, and then like cook it in the afternoon, and it should be fine. My thing with sourdough is I think the rules are way too strict, because like people were making sourdough way back in the day, and they didn't have these like 20-page TikTok manuals to follow. So I don't think it's as serious as people make it out to be, but we'll see, I guess, because like if my dough turns out like garbage, I mean, there's no one to blame but me. But anywho, all that to say, I did read a little bit today, definitely not as much as I was wanting to or anticipating, but that's okay, because we are in our fangirl era, okay? Sometimes you just have to take a moment to fangirl, and you know what? I had so much fun texting all my friends today about the pit. Speaking of the pit, I do have a reel/short/TikTok out right now of my suggestions for books based on your favorite pit character. If you have not watched it yet, please go give it a watch. I'm really, really proud of it, and I would love to share it with you. But anyway, yeah, let's get back to reading, I guess. Good morning. It is unfortunately already 9 a.m. on Wednesday. I said I was gonna read last night, and you know what I did? I made dinner, right? Okay. And then I ate dinner with my husband while we watched a TV show. He's been really busy at work, so like we hang out when we can. So I was like, sure, I'll watch TV, whatever. But then I immediately fell asleep. So, and my phone died, and I'm currently doing the audiobook. So, just all of the things compacted into one giant we didn't read. And then I accidentally also slept in. I slept in hella this morning. We usually get up around 7. We didn't even get up till 7:15. Oopsies, which means my starter has probably already peaked and gone. I think I'm still use it though, because like I said, we're all about sourdough experiments over here. I don't think it's that serious. And we're gonna do that, and we're gonna read. We need to change clothes, like we need to still get ready for our day. Kind of thinking about making some breakfast, but I don't know. I don't know what to do. I hate sleeping in like this because I wake up still tired, but then I like also don't have motivation. Like I'm tired, and I feel like I've already wasted so much of my day. Even though it's only an hour later, and granted I probably would have napped an hour later. Like, what's the psychology behind that? Why does it feel better to nap an hour later than it does to sleep in? You know what I mean? But anywho, I'm gonna make my sourdough loaf now, and then we're gonna start reading. Okay, so I am about 30% through The Wolf King, and I will say some first impressions so far. I love the fact that it is fast-paced. My hands are freezing though, sorry. I love that it is fast-paced. It is very short chapters. Like I said, I'm about 30% through, which according to my Kindle is about page 140-ish. But I'm already on chapter like 32, which is crazy. Each chapter my Kindle says is only like between 2 to 5 minutes, so it definitely has this like kind of momentum going. But I feel like because these chapters are so short, sometimes they repeat themselves. Like there was a chapter earlier where she like meets a character or something, and she's like expressing her thoughts, but then the chapter ends, and then she basically re-expresses those thoughts in the next chapter because it's the next chapter, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. It just feels a little repetitive, but like in a good way. Like I said, it's fast-paced. I'm enjoying it. I do find the FMC a little annoying right now. She's like extremely naive, which I think is part of her character, but it does come off as like a little childish and annoying at times. Like she'll walk past a boy's bedroom and be like, oh, I've never been in a boy's bedroom before. I don't think I should go in there. And then she goes in there and she's like, oh, I've never been in a boy's bedroom. I don't think I should be in here. And that's kind of what I mean also about the repeating thoughts. Like, she will approach the room, say that, go inside the room, say it again, and then like she'll talk to a character. Oh, I'm not supposed to be in here, I've never been in a boy's bedroom. Okay, we get it, girl, we get it. But like, it's still good. I have met Blake, which if you've seen any of the marketing for this trilogy, you would know that essentially it's a love triangle, I think. So far, he's not a love interest. Actually, so far, no one's a love interest. But Blake is, everything I see about this on like people's reviews and videos and stuff is them saying they're Team Blake. So really excited to get further into his kind of plot line. So far all that's happened is we've been introduced to him, but he is definitely the dark and mysterious bad boy. Like all of the wolves, so basically our main character, she like gets kidnapped by this wolf because he thinks that her dad and her husband, I think, or her betrothed, she's not married yet, she got kidnapped like the night before her wedding, but they think that her family or whoever has this gemstone that should allow them to be able to transform whenever they want instead of just on the full moon. Where was I going with this? Basically, she gets kidnapped by this wolf, right? And all of the wolves, she like goes to the Wolf King to meet him, and all of the wolves are in these different like kilts, very Scottish, except Blake. He's in like essentially what I'm picturing as a pitch black suit and is like very mysterious and a bad boy and doesn't follow the rules of the other wolves and all this stuff. And yeah, I really like his character so far. I understand why everyone is team him. It feels very much like, a classic Stefan is like Callum, the good boy, does as he's supposed to, wants to protect our main girl no matter what. And then you have Damon or Blake, who's like, oh, but I'm so bad, I'm gonna, do bad things because I'm a bad boy, but also I'm a bad boy for everybody but you. And I love that dynamic. I love it. I'm trying to think of another example, but Damon and Stefan are always who I think about in these scenarios. But anywho, I'm going to continue reading now. I am reading this way slower than I mean to. It is freezing cold today. Like I mentioned, I think earlier in one of the clips, we finally got our AC back just for us to need to put on our freaking heater today. So, but yeah, I am freezing, which is making me sleepy, which is making me not want to read. But I'm gonna. So I will update you guys as I read more. I don't have the exact page counts for today or yesterday because, like I mentioned, I'm reading on my Kindle, which just does percentages. But yesterday I read a total of about 10%, and so far today I have already read 15%. I anticipate reading more though. But anywho, I'll update you as I keep reading. She just got offered like a mate charm, basically, like a promise ring, essentially. That's crazy. I'm blushing. I'm giggling and kicking my feet, to be honest. Stay tuned. That's crazy. Oh my god. I'm looking up fan art for the Wolf King. I'm feral. Y'all artists are freaking on to something. Like, I fear I too want to be in a wolf triangle. This book is messy. I am so obsessed. Guys, I just finished The Wolf King. I can go ahead and take this bookmark out because I didn't read it physically at all, but that was so good. It had literally every single thing I'm looking for in a book while still somehow being reminiscent of like every book I've ever liked. Like, Blake is low-key giving Resand. I understand now why you girlies really like him. The ending? Resand. And I will not elaborate on that further, but if that doesn't make you want to read this, then I don't know what will. Yeah. I fear it has to be a 5 stars, but mostly because of like the silly, goofy, haha, fun vibes. Was it perfectly written? No. Was it a perfect story? Also, probably no. But did I literally eat it up 10 out of 10 obsessed? Yes. And you know what? Sometimes that's all it takes to be 5 stars. This book is so good. And I'm eagerly awaiting, what's it called? The Night Prince. Yeah, that book might be moving on up on my TBR. Probably won't read it like today, but soon. It's getting read soon because I will say though, the like major plot twist, or I assume it was a plot twist. I'm not actually sure if we were supposed to know / guess that or not, but I did guess it, so didn't surprise me one bit, but it was still really good. Still would really recommend. Still had a silly, goofy, giggly, kicking my feet time reading it. And it was perfect. I know it was perfect, right? Yes, it was perfect. I'm back. Anywho, what I was saying. Flawless. 10 out of 10. Great time. I'm so happy I read this. I could picture myself rereading it too. Like, there's just something about an angsty, wants to do it all the time wolf that's just really good. Okay, if you just need a silly, goofy, classic romantasy, I think this one is good and it fits the bills. And you know what, like I said, I'm eagerly awaiting my moment to read The Night Prince. I will say too, the audiobook was chef's kiss. I'm excited for the second book on audiobook though, because ooh, my oven just went off so I can go bake my sourdough. Anywho, the first book, Callum and Aurora were voiced, and he's like this brooding, deep-voiced Scottish man, and I'm pretty sure she's like a pretty famous narrator. Like, I think I've heard her quite a few times. And in this third book, our guy, Alex, is that even his name? Blake, where did I get Alex from? Blake gets a freaking narrator and just, I'm so excited. If y'all see me reading The Night Prince in a very soon reading vlog, don't be shocked, because I am giddy right now. I haven't felt this eager to read like the next book in the series, I feel like, in quite a while. Whew. Yeah, I'm like out of breath. I'm so excited. I do think though I'm going to take a break because the third book doesn't come out until, so I just noticed you can see my mac and cheese. Ignore that. The third book doesn't come out until like September, so I probably will take a break, slow down a little bit so that I can kind of space it out, but add that to the shelf. I had such a good time. I don't know what to read next. I am technically still in the middle of If It Makes You Happy, but like I mentioned, I think earlier this week, I think I'm going to save that for specifically reading at work because it's a very good eyeball read. I don't know why I explain it like that, but I do, so I don't know. I'll update you once I pick up a book because we're definitely picking something up. Okay, I think I'm going to do This Story Might Save You. I got it as my book of the month for, what month are we even in? March? Yeah, it's this month. I got it for March. But I've heard it's really, really good on audio, so I think I'm going to merge and read this, but I bought it on Audible, which means I have to start it at home, which means we're going to start it right now. So I'll keep you updated as I read some more. Okay, it is Thursday, which means two things. First, it is the pit night, which I've been waiting all week for this. Dare I say tonight's episode was chef's kiss, phenomenal, flawless. So much happened. It was like one of those slow episodes where technically nothing plot-wise happened, but there were so many crumbs and Easter eggs and reveals about characters and just... Anywho, I finished If It Makes You Happy today at work. I started on page 320 and it is 500 pages exactly. So I read whatever that is, 100. I forgot how to math all of a sudden. I read about 180 pages. I don't know why I couldn't do that. And I also got something exciting in the mail today. Let me go grab it. I'll be right back. Okay, I also got the Sons of Aries Omnibus, which I believe just means collection. But this is the prequel. Let me find a page that isn't gonna get me flagged. This one's probably good. This is the Sons of Aries pre Red Rising story. It is some comics about Aries, and I believe specifically I think we're specifically following several, maybe, but I did go ahead and splurge on this. It's kind of funny. On the back here it says, written by Pierce Brown, Red Rising, Dark Age. And then it also says written by the guy who worked on Right Sands and some other people, but I just think it's kind of funny that his only credits are Red Rising. Can you see that? His only credits are Red Rising and Dark Age. But anyway, I'm excited to read through this. I used to love comics when I was younger, and anything I can do to read more Red Rising, yeah, we're gonna read it. Also, if I ever somehow get the chance to meet Pierce Brown again, this would give me another thing I could get signed by him, so that would be cool. I don't love the art style. I think the faces for the people are a little creepy, if I'm being honest, but I'm excited to read the story. I'm excited to own another physical item for my Red Rising collection, but anywho, to go back to If It Makes You Happy, I was tearing up in my cubicle today reading this. The ending was so precious. I did bookmark one item. Oh, it's whenever she's driving back to the airport and Rocket sprints down the road so that he can go in the car with her. I was like, Michelle, please don't leave Rocket. Dare I say Rocket was my favorite character, because he was, and I will not apologize for that. But anywho, those are my updates. My totals today were, like I said, about 180 pages. Yesterday I think my totals were well, okay, so I finished The Wolf King, which was probably 300-ish pages, let's say. And then I have an arc for Fondo Lee's new book, and I did start that in bed last night, but I only read probably 3% of the arc, so maybe 10 pages max. I didn't read very much. And then I also started This Story Might Save You, I think is what it's called, and I did read about 30 pages of, no, I read 50 pages of that before bed as well. So I probably read like 500-ish total pages yesterday, which is crazy, but, you know, you win some, you lose some. But anywho, it is literally already 10:30 at night because, like I said, it is the pit night, and that was priority number 1. So, anywho, I do work from home again tomorrow. Anywho, I will update you with what I read tomorrow. I'm thinking about either starting Twelfth Knight, because this is on my monthly TBR, and I have the audiobook for it checked out right now, so could start this. Or we could go back to Half City, or we could finish The Story Might Save You. We could also read some more of the Arc. I don't know. We're at that weird point of the week again where options are kind of limitless. I probably will focus on The Story Might Save You, though. I'm having a really, really good time listening to that right now, so. But anyhow, I will update you again tomorrow with what we pick up. Good morning. It is Friday. Me and my literal stick of a braid have an update, like a quick update, I guess. If you have any advice for making your hair grow, let me know. I'm thinking about buying some better hair care. I read this thing one time that said girls can only have 2 of the 3. You either get skin, makeup, or hair, or fashion. I think fashion was in there too. So maybe you get 3 of the 4, 2 of the 3. I don't know. But the point is I feel like my hair used to be so thick and healthy and long, and recently it's just not, and I'm over it. I'm tired of it looking like this. My braid's looking a little rough, which, like, granted, I do have layers, so it's like, you know, if these were full length, that would add some. But anywho, all of that to say, let's get that rat thing away. I do have an update of This Story Might Save You. I really, really like this so far. It's told in kind of this like dual timeline, dual POV situation, where one timeline we're learning about when Benny and Joy met and kind of like their past and how the podcast came to be. And then the other timeline is Joy and her husband Xander are now missing, and we're learning about, you know, the current timeline, them searching for them looking for clues, etc. I really, really, really like this setup because it's kind of like laying breadcrumbs for mysteries. Like, I have several theories, but because of the way stuff's being revealed, it's like you're kind of kept on your toes. You don't really know, like, do people hate each other? Does everyone love each other? You know, who has secrets, who doesn't? Stuff is getting revealed. It's like a snowball effect, right? It's like you start the book and you're like, okay, I've got it figured out. I know who's who. And then more and more stuff just keeps getting revealed. And it is so juicy. I love it. I'm so obsessed right now. I have a theory, but I feel like my theory is a little too on the nose. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe, you know, there's some sort of plot twist or something. Because if my theory is correct, I do think that this book would have to be a 4-star just because it would have been too obvious. But if it keeps up at its current pace and, like, you know, really throws a wrench in the ringer or whatever that phrase is, this book has potential to be 5 stars. It is so good. Like I said, I'm so on my toes and I'm so intrigued, and I like the, you know, the meshing, I guess, of these genres, because part of it is like this epic love story, you know, very reminiscent of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. You're learning about these 2 people who once upon a time might have been in love, but they're not, but the feelings are still kind of there, but they each have their own partners and all this stuff. But then on the other hand, you're like reading about a murder mystery, and there's also kind of a Daisy Jones element a little bit, because there is the multimedia aspect, but also Xander reminds me so much of that man that Daisy marries in Daisy Jones and the Six, how it has kind of that strained, you know, it strains her relationship with, well, in this book, it strains her relationship with Benny, but like in Daisy Jones, it strains her relationship with the band a little bit. It's giving that, and I'm just having such a good time. I'm really, really excited to finish this book. I think I'm going to finish it, you know, within the next hour and a half-ish. I'm about halfway through. It's reading incredibly fast. I would definitely recommend the audiobook. There are scenes that the audiobook keeps including that aren't in the book that I think are really cool. It's basically like you're getting little snippets of, they set up like a police hotline so they could try to find Joy and Xander, and in the audiobook, you're like hearing these people's tips, like you're hearing the call-ins, and I think that is so cool. It is such a unique touch, but that's not included in the book. In the book, they basically just say, you know, like, oh, we got a call today that Joy was spotted in Miami or whatever, which is like still relevant. But in the audiobook, you actually hear the woman calling and being like, I think I just saw Joy walking out of a hair salon in Miami, thought y'all should know, or, you know, whatever. And I love that. I think it is phenomenal. There's also sections where you're like listening to their actual podcast, and it's super cool. There's a lot of like audio, I don't know what you would call it, like basically like audio aids, I guess. Like you're hearing like the microphone effects and stuff like that. It is super, super cool, and I can't recommend this book enough. I will let you guys know as I continue to read more and if that feeling continues.
No spoilers, but like,
this book is crazy. I am eating it up. Okay, again, no spoilers, but I have a new theory, and if my new theory is correct, it's gonna be crazy. I will update you all with if I was correct or not, but not with what my theory was. So stay tuned. Okay, I don't think I ever updated you earlier, but I did finish This Story Might Save You. I ended up rating it 4 stars. I think it's realistically like a 4.5-ish. It didn't quite meet that 5-star mark, but it was still so good. I loved the genre bending and kind of like I just liked it. I feel like I already mentioned earlier all the reasons I liked it. The only reason I didn't rate it 5 stars is the ending fell a little flat for me. The resolution happens pretty fast. You like learn like 4 plot twists back to back to back, and then they're just kind of over. Like the book is just kind of like, okay, we're done, yay. Which, speaking of, I didn't guess the twist that I said I think I know. Like earlier, I think I did an update. It was like, I think I know where this is going. I was wrong. I was super wrong. But I had made a prediction pretty early on in the book that was correct. So like I was wrong when I updated, but I was correct overall, I guess. But anywho, I'd really recommend this book. It was really good. It was very fun, and it was a debut, which for a debut, I'm like very, very impressed with this, and I'm really happy. I think Book of the Month killed it once again. And then after that, I did technically start Twelfth Knight. I read about the first 40-ish, 50-ish pages maybe, and I can't decide if I want to DNF it or not. I technically started this like a couple of years ago right after I bought it and wasn't jiving with it, and like I said, I'm further into it this time, and I don't know that I like her writing style. This is the same lady that wrote the Atlas 6, Olive E. Blake. This is like another pen name she writes under, or maybe this is her real name and Olive E. Blake is the pen name, I don't know, but I'm not really sure I'm jiving with the style, because like our FMC, for example, she'll say like, oh, I really, you know, I'm really wanting to play this game, and then in parentheses it'll say like, this game is so fun, oh my gosh. And it's like doing both external and internal thoughts at the same time, and she's like being really descriptive, but almost like too descriptive. And yeah, I just also think I've kind of aged out of YA that's not written by I just said WA authors. I have aged out of YA that's not written by like my comfort YA authors, if that makes sense. Like I still really enjoy Lynn Painter, for example, but this one is feeling kind of juvenile to me, because like, okay, so there was a scene very, very early, like I think literally chapter 1, where she's like playing a board game with her friends. She's in a Dungeons and Dragons group, and one of the guys follows her outside to her truck to talk to her, and she's in a bad mood, and he's like asking her on a date, and she keeps just being like super oblivious, like, well, what are you doing? Why do you want to hang out with me? And he's like, I'm trying to ask you on a date. And she's like, well, but like, why would you do that? And it just felt very childish to me, and I didn't really enjoy reading that. And so yeah, there is a chance I DNF this. To be fair, the literal only reason I picked it up was I, as you may know if you're familiar with my channel, am a video game player, so I was like, oh, this could be a fun premise. And also I thought the sprayed edge and the end paper was really cool, but yeah, so far I'm just not vibing with the story. And I did go and read some Goodreads reviews earlier, and I feel like overall most people were rating it 3-ish stars. Like they were like, it's good, but like, you know, it's a typical YA romance. So there's like a 97% chance I DNF this, because if I do the audiobook on max speed, it's still going to take me 4 hours, it says, and I just don't know that I want to dedicate 4 hours to this. Which is kind of a bummer because, like I said, I do think the book itself is gorgeous, and I do think that on paper this is a book I'd really like. It's just not really vibing with me for some reason. So I do think I'm going to move on and start something else. So I'll update you once I figure out what. I just realized I never did a final check-in. It is now the following Tuesday, and I'm pretty sure the last time I updated, I said I was about to start 12th Knight. I have, in fact, DNF'd this book. I think the writing was just a little cringy for me, to be honest, and I do fear that I am out of my high school YA phase, like strictly them being in high school. Like, you know, I read the first, I don't know, probably 60 pages, and the main character is the star football player, and he injures himself, and his girlfriend's like, well, now that you're not cool, I can't date you anymore. And it's like, I'm over that petty, silly drama stuff. And just, yeah, it was like almost too explanatory. Like, I'm just not sure I like this lady's style of writing. So after that, I did pick up The Storm Crow, which I'm recording this a final update the following Tuesday, so I have since finished this. But yeah, I'm not going to give any thoughts about it because I will do a wrap-up at the end of this month with my full thoughts on this. But to give you a long story short, I read this pretty fast and I liked it, and I'm really happy that I finally got it off my physical TBR. It has been on my physical TBR, like it's one of the books I've owned the longest, I think. I didn't realize when I bought it though that it was part of a duology, so I do have another book I need to buy. So physical TBR win, physical TBR loss, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I really liked this. I thought it was super unique while also being reminiscent of some other stories that I've liked in the past. So, but anywho, those are my 2 updates for what I read in the week. I think my total was, I believe I finished 2-ish books. I DNF'd 2 books. So it was a pretty realistically busy but not busy reading week for me. But anywho, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments below how much you read in a week you think and what your most recent read is, and I will see you guys in the next one.